What'd you tell your team, Mike, when the news hit?
I told them that I understood how their minds and hearts may be hurt, how they are probably disappointed. I think they should feel that way. They played well enough to be represented on that stage today, and to feel like that could have given them a little bit more validation in the work that they put in this season. However, it wasn't the case, and we still have more basketball to play. Certainly for our seniors, another opportunity for them to still continue their careers before they take those jerseys off for the last time, and for the young guys that will continue in our program, an opportunity to continue to lay the foundation for what will be the future of a program that's headed in the right direction, we believe.
Did you have a gut feeling today before the reveal?
No, I mean, kind of go back and forth. Obviously, I was way off. We weren't even kind of as close to the bubble as most people thought. So part of me thinks maybe if we beat Kansas the third time, we would have gotten on the bubble. And I don't know if that's ever been the standard set by anybody. But it is what it is. We understand that there probably were some things that we could have controlled better over the course of the season. I'm not going to the schedule part because I don't necessarily believe that, but maybe some of the games in the Big 12 that we didn't perform as well, didn't give us the best opportunity. So I didn't know, and obviously, you watch the results after you lose, and Nevada losing doesn't help, and Rhode Island losing doesn't help. But we really weren't close enough for those things to have affected us.
Does it surprise you that you weren't that close?
Yeah, it really does, and not for any other team that got in, because everybody worked hard to put themselves in this position. But I thought there were some teams that we may have been closer to that it didn't seem like we were viewed very closely with.
1-point losses to Arkansas when you only had 8 players down at Texas. Are those games that are going to kind of sit with you now?
Oh man, they've sat with me for a long time. Unfortunately, at this point, we're not in a position to get the benefit of the doubt on those games. I think some other programs at this point, people would have said, wow, they almost won a game on the road in Fayetteville with 7 scholarship players and Trey Reeves scoring a basket. Pretty remarkable. I would say that that's a team that's capable of playing with anybody when they're fully healthy. So, yeah, the Texas game, obviously the games where we had leads in the second half at Tech, those are things that will continue to play through my mind and continue to, give me a sense of, I've got to get better so that my team is not worried about whether or not we're in, but more so where we'll be playing next week.
Do you feel like you and your team have a statement to make in the NIT?
Every time we have a chance to play, we've got a statement to make because we have an opportunity to represent this program and to represent this university and all the people who believe in us. So we'll try to do that. We'll find out what's next for us in the next couple hours, and then we'll get to work and prepare and try to go out and win. And one of the hardest things with the NIT, and I've dealt with this both as a player and a coach, is that first game when you're in a position like ours, getting over that emotion of disappointment and refocusing on playing good basketball. And so that'll be a great challenge for the staff and I over the next couple of days. But I believe in these kids and their ability to refocus, and I think they'll come out and play the right way.
You mentioned you sort of don't agree with the scheduling part of it. Obviously, who knows how the criteria changes for next year, but is there anything you're going to look at just in order to try to figure out what they're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part with the scheduling is you don't find out your flaws in your schedule until after the fact. So it's hard. I mean, I actually told my team in the locker room after we beat Pittsburgh that they would win a couple games in the ACC because no one goes winless in their leagues. And I didn't think they could win it, but I thought they could get to 4-14, which is still pretty bad. And then it doesn't look as bad as 0-18. So, some of it's, I don't know Charlotte's going to fire their coach a week after we play him. Some of it you don't know. They're usually top 150 at least. And so we'll try to be conscious of it, but, we'll also try to schedule a way that gives our team the best chance to have a good season.
Jeff kind of said whenever he saw OU popped up, he kind of got a bad feeling because you guys have been compared so much. Is that kind of how you felt too whenever you saw OU?
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about one versus the other. The committee certainly didn't see it that way. We weren't even close to them in their minds. So I don't know. I really didn't know what to think. I know there was a group of teams. I thought we were in it. We weren't really as close as I thought we were to those teams that we're in that discussion with, but they weren't one of them.
Maybe an unfair question, but if you wanted to change the criteria, if you wanted to add or subtract something that's not there right now, what would you want to see in there?
Well, I mean, first, I don't know what it was that that necessarily kept us out at the end. I don't think that anybody that was on that line, either that got in or that didn't get in, has a better collection of wins than we do. I'd be hard pressed to see a team that has a better. Now, someone may have one win better somewhere in there, but as a group of wins, I don't know. And so I think you got to value winning, and then you have the argument that teams at the lower levels don't have the same opportunities. But I've been there too. I think our first year of Stephen F. Austin, we were on a 26-game win streak going into our conference tournament, and we were nervous in the championship game because if we don't win it, we're not getting in with a 28-game win streak. And at 31 wins at the time or whatever it was. So that's just kind of what you get at that level. Everybody understands it, so you try to schedule better teams in the non-con. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'll think about it a lot over the next few months. And my job is to try to put this program in position to compete for NCAA tournament bids and making runs and national championships, and that's what we'll continue to do.
For your younger guys, there already was a hunger to make NCAA tournaments, but do you think that increases with something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you go through something that's really disappointing, especially if you're motivated by the right things, that it can give you an extra edge in terms of the way you work, the way you focus. And so, yeah, I think the guys who are here that'll be back next year, as well as guys who have signed to come here next year or that we're recruiting, will continue to hear the message of, we're going to remember this moment and never want it to happen again. And I'll continue to remind them when I see that there's something not trending in that direction.
Looking to the NIT, there's a few rule changes, timing, three-point line. How does that affect your coaching and the practices leading up to it?
Probably a hard question. I haven't really thought much about the rules for the NIT. I know that there are some differences. I'll study those up tonight and try to start preparing for those in practice starting tomorrow.
Coach, you'll likely host a game. What do you say to the fans to try to get them out here to support the team?
Yeah, I mean, we thought last Saturday was our last home game, and obviously we had a great crowd, and I hope certainly that we can get close to that. It'll be a midweek game likely, so probably not as good a crowd as we had last Saturday, last Saturday. But I certainly hope that our fans understand that this team works really hard for them. This is their program, and we want to try to put our best foot forward. These games mostly are all nationally televised. Another opportunity for recruits to see what this program is like, how the fans support them, and our students I think are still around this week. I think spring break doesn't start till next week, so hopefully they can come out as well.
I guess a bright side to this is you have an opportunity to finish your first season as a head coach with a win in New York.
Yeah, we got to get this first game first. I'll tell the story real quick. In 2009, I was an assistant coach at South Carolina, and we were in a very similar situation. I think we were co-East Division. They had divisions back then, champions with Tennessee, which means we finished second and won 10 games in that league and didn't make the tournament. And it was hard to get over it. And then in NIT, we had a kid from Davidson who plays for the Golden State Warriors now coming to our place. A couple days later, I think the disappointment, and also no one except me knew how good he was because I coached him against him the year before. And 40 points later from him, our season was over. So this first game is the hardest game of this tournament. As opposed to the other tournament, it gets harder as you go along. Not that this one gets easier, but just the psychological part of it for this tournament is challenging. So, we got our work cut out for us. But again, I believe in these kids, and I'll think about New York. Let's talk about that next week.
How closely were you paying attention to results the last few days? The Nevada losing, the Rhode Island Davis.
Yeah, I'm a basketball junkie, so I followed it all. I was surprised at the margin. I know San Diego State's a good program, good team, but that they were up 30 at halftime was more shocking than anything. But I followed it all. I mean, I don't know how many games I watched between the games on TV and the ones that I traveled around the state to see the last couple of days. But I digested a lot of basketball.
What is the disappointment today, but the games you won in Lawrence, Kansas here, at Morgantown, some of those notable victories, what does that do for the future of OSU basketball, do you think?
Well, I think what's happened is I think some of the perception of me has maybe changed, that like maybe this guy can coach a little bit. And so I think people believe that if we get the right kind of kids, because that's the next question, is people want to know whether or not our staff and obviously me as a head coach can recruit. And so the wins validate that we can do the job on the court. We get the right pieces, and I'm excited about the future. I really like where we're headed. I love my staff. Our administrators, starting with Mike Holder, has been unbelievable for me, and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.